And I'm Nick Sturdivant. People here in the Triangle and across the country gathered to pay tribute to civil rights icon and Congressman John Lewis on the one-year anniversary of his death.
CBS 17's Lillian Donahue attended one of those memorials tonight and joins us live. And Lillian, activists say they are also pushing for more voting rights in Lewis's honor.
That's right. Tonight, around 50 people gathered here at the statue of Martin Luther King Jr. And like him, the late Congressman John Lewis was also a longtime civil rights activist. However, they had another message, and that message was looking ahead to next year's election cycle. On the anniversary of Lewis's death, activists are also pushing for expanded voting rights. They also want to see Congress take action on the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, which would restore parts of the 1965 Voting Rights Act that were taken away by the Supreme Court in 2013. They're also pushing Congress to pass the For the People Act, which passed the House in March but was blocked by the U.S. Senate.
And that's why we have to do what we're doing today, coming together as a community to say our right to vote is sacred and it is essential to the freedom and the democracy of America.
People here also expressed their opposition to numerous anti-voting right or more restrictive voting bills that have been introduced or passed in other more Republican majority Senate or House states across the country over the past few months. Reporting live in Raleigh, Lillian Donahue, CBS 17 News.
All right, thanks, Lillian. And in San Diego, a Navy ship was christened in honor of John Lewis.
As CBS 17's Alexandra Limon explains, the ceremony comes as the battle over voting rights heats up in Congress.
I christen thee John Lewis.
1 year after the death of Congressman John Lewis, the Navy christened the USNS John Lewis in his honor.
Because John Lewis was a warrior.
Speaker Nancy Pelosi and more than 30 members of Congress were at the ceremony.
What is most important at this critical time, and what will please my uncle most, is the passing of the John Lewis Voting Rights Bill.
Democrats say the John Lewis Voting Rights Act would help restore protections and require jurisdictions with a history of racial voting discrimination to receive federal pre-approval before changing their voting rules. This week, the House Judiciary Committee held a hearing on voting rights following the U.S. Supreme Court's decision to uphold Arizona's voting restrictions. This year, more than a dozen states around the country have passed or are considering new voting restrictions. Democrats say the laws make it harder for minorities to vote.
What the Republicans are doing throughout the country right now is to suppress the vote.
Republican lawmakers and conservative groups like Judicial Watch say the new laws make sense.
You need rules, okay? Kitchens should be clean. Voting should be clean.
And on the anniversary of the death of Congressman John Lewis, it looks increasingly unlikely that the Senate will pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. Top Republicans say the legislation is unnecessary. In Washington, Alexandra Limon, CBS 17 News. Support